Hey everyone, True here, and I'm back with an updated Evertale tier list for Arena. As always, it is based on 100 of the best teams worldwide, data that I collected from 17 servers in 7 hours. I'll split this video into 3 parts. We'll place the new SSR units first, then go through tier changes compared to the last edition, and finally look at the ranks of the very best units in detail. Feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps in the description. That said, let's get right into it. To showcase the new SSR units, I will be using Nizeto's Evertale toolbox, which I recommend you check out, by the way. And yeah, we start off with Rin, who is a new dark poison unit, and she has a very complete skill set, I would say. I mean, especially got that nice hold ground plus going in combination with the flip poison all. She just needs one kill to become kind of a savage assassin. But all in all, she is a bit held back. And why is she held back? I think it's because she is a poison unit, and poison is just having a really hard time right now. Currently, she lands in my tier list in the A tier. Continuing on, we have Haku, which is probably the best support unit released ever since Light Mirai 1.5 years ago. And she has a really nice skill set in that kind of Master Stroke, Ink of Restoration, Ink of Command. I really don't warm up so well to that kind of Survivor's Wrath, her fourth skill. I think it kind of makes her a worse unit, especially because her hit goes up once it's unlocked. The quick draw is nice, but the light speed entry of someone like Light Callen is better. And then we have Reincarnation Revenge, which is of course very cool if you have her killed by a normal attack. But as with all these kinds of passive revenge skills, stealth attacks, ignore them. That said, she was received very well, and at the moment she lands in the S tier in my tier list. Next up, we have Ossia, and just looking at her passive skills, she's a really strong unit. She has that kind of hallowed healing, which basically means every time she gets hit, she produces a Mori and heals for 25% of her HP, so that's pretty strong already. But then she also has that Auto Poison Plus, which combines Earth Astrid's and Dark Callen skill, meaning that she heals every time a poisoned unit on the enemy's team gets their turn. And on the other hand, every unit that enters the battlefield gets poisoned automatically. So that's just a really, really strong passive skill set. That said, I don't think the active skills can really hold up all that well. Poison Trick is an okay attack. The Taunt, yes, she can bind some kind of stealth units on her and become uh, indestructible or undefeatable on that unit's turn. But other than that, she won't survive that long, I think. I mean, the Blood Assassin Plus is a strong attack, don't get me wrong, but 160 time units in today's meta is just really, really long. Let's see how well she will be received in the future, but for now, looking at the data, she only makes it into the A tier together with Rin. And last new unit, unfortunately this one we will not be tiering, is Sun Wukong, which is quite a new unit, and that's why she isn't settled enough to be in a tier yet. Just looking at her skill set, she's very similar to like a combination of Earth Mysha and Elmina, but unfortunately, she's held back by a faulty AI, I think. So she could be really, really strong, but her third skill, the Vanishing Burst, and the way the AI prioritizes her skills just holds her back a lot. Other than that, she's a really strong unit. I mean, she has that kind of very cheap, fast stealth drain. Stealth units in general, you know it, are something to be reckoned with in today's meta. And she has kind of 3 hold grounds, but she should be weak against poison and fire, or rather burn, which I quite like, to be honest, because they need a boost, so to speak, anyways, to become a bit more relevant again. But let's see where Sun Wukong goes. Based on the data so far, which is very limited, I would think that she will at least go up to the S tier or higher. Next up, we will go through the tier changes in a much quicker fashion than with the new units, and we start off with the F tier. And unfortunately, Norza is joining the tier 3 years ago. When he was released, he was probably the best unit in the game, but unfortunately these times are over. Now the 100 top teams that I looked at, none of them are using him anymore. And the same is true for Fire Ludmilla and Arya, both of which are blood units, and both of which are just no longer holding up to the current meta. They are not inherently bad, but just there's so many better options out there now, so it's really difficult to stay in the higher tiers in my list. Let's look at the E tier, and here we have Earth Reset joining. Someone with a poison entry, so that's nice, but other than that, clearly outdated. She wasn't even that great when she was released nearly 2 years ago, but now she really has lost a lot of her utility, except basically being a hold ground unit and poisoning 2 units when she enters the battlefield. On the other hand, from above, we have some new joiners as well. We have Bahamut and Altarion, the 2 dragons, also with hold ground, holding on just with a few gimmicks, but unfortunately falling as well. So we no longer have any dragons, I think, in D tier or above, which is quite unfortunate for a monster catching game. But anyways, we also have Fire Antares join, and this is due to the fact that even though her second banner came around, only one single team of the 100 that I looked at is currently using her. So that's why she lands in the E tier. And also joining is Water Elmina, who has still an okay skill set, but is just outclassed by a lot of the other newer units, and I guess you will begin to see a pattern in my reasonings there. In D tier we have 3 new units joining, and 2 are actually coming from below. One of them is Earth Rainer, and I wouldn't pay too much attention to that rise. I think that might just be a fluke, but on the other hand we have also Artimaya joining here, and I think she's actually really still quite a good unit. I'm personally using her still in my team, and she has that kind of spirit plus thundering entry, and also that spirit producing, purifying, healing capabilities that can still make for a nice support. So I can definitely see her in this higher tier, even maybe higher than her other compatriots in this tier. On the other hand, falling down, we have Gaia, and yeah, I mean, not much to say here, pretty new unit, but I always was kind of skeptical about her skill set. She has some nice entry capabilities, but compared to many other new units, she's just not really holding up that well. Joining the C tier from below is Theo, and I can kind of see why. I mean, he can be quite annoying to deal with as an opponent, but still don't get your hopes up too much. That is just a 3% usage rate right now. Let's see where he lands after the second banner, but yeah, this is giving him the C tier right now, and from above is Shuten Daoji joining a poison unit. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about it in this video already. Poison is just having a really hard time, even in the combination with the kind of a blood gimmick. So yeah, she's falling down to the C tier. Basically, only 7 out of 100 teams are using her right now. And then going up from C tier is Fire Ray, maybe riding the coattails here a bit from the Freya release, but let's see, 10 out of 100 teams using her right now, top teams that is. And on the other side we have Storm Callen going down from A to B tier. I'm still using her in my team as a sacrificial lamb, so to speak, but that being said, um, for the top teams where you're restricted to 20 units, having a sacrificial lamb is probably not suitable, and on her own she's not an amazing unit, especially with the stealth meta around. The only change in A tier, except for the new units, is Snow White, and it's a bit hard to see her fall that far from being a top tier unit 1 year ago and now being in the A tier. Other units just aged better, and so yeah, this is where she lands now. Not saying she's really bad or anything. 54% of the top teams are still using her, but the starting space is restricted to 4 units in arena battles, and she kind of loses half her gimmick now by not being able to deploy it in the starting 4, where other units are just doing much better work at this point. 1 year ago, basically starting off with a 400% assassin attack was absolutely insane, but now it's not that insane anymore. On the other hand, we have 2 units joining the S tier from A tier, and it is Water Jeanne. Quite surprisingly, she's doing better again. Not much to say here. I mean, she is a 2-in-1 unit, just not as great as, for example, Dark Jeanne was, but obviously much better than the initial Light Jeanne at this point. And I mean, in combination with some other sleep units, probably still a really, really good idea. 54% of the teams are using her. And we have also Dark Rainer, a relatively new unit, joining the S tier now. Just on the brink, I have to say, but still, and 35% of top teams are currently using her. So that is what the current S tier looks like. But now we are getting into juicy territory, and that is SS tier, of course. And before we get into the top 10 units, we will see 2 units join the SS tier. And first up, it's Freya, and I think it's well deserved. I've talked about her a lot in my previous tier list video. Only 42% use her at this point, but this is partially due to her short time span being around. Arguably the best burn unit right now, but there's also Bright Astrid, and surprisingly she gets to rejoin the SS tier. She made quite an improvement compared to my last tier list, and she is currently at 71% usage, and she appears to be making a difference in the top teams of the top tier teams. But yeah, those 2 are joining the SS tier, and now we get into the detail of the top 10 units. Number 10, Light Mirai. And with over 600 days since her first release, she's also the oldest unit in SS or SSS tier. Obviously, the rise of the stealth meta is bad for her, given that otherwise she pretty much got ignored with her stun revenge passive, but she's still holding up extraordinarily well. 93% of 100 top teams are still utilizing this unit. She's especially popular in Asian servers, not so much in the European space. Next up, we have Storm Antares, number 9. And this is a bit of a drop compared to previous rankings, but she's still going strong in the top 10, just released slightly after Light Mirai, and with her stun all skin, she's really still good, even if similar to Mirai, the kind of stealth attacks are the bad thing for her. She still has that hold ground and then Thunder Horde going for her. And for pretty much all the current meta units, stun is a big weakness. So her having that kind of stun skill set while still being able to do some damage is still pretty okay. She's top 10 in all the regions that I cover. Number 8, Earth Anya. She goes to SS tier, as well as this kind of poison guard. She's kind of the complementary piece to the Bright Astrid fire guard release that came 2 months later. She's still good. I mean, she has that kind of poison skin random, um, some damage reductions, and the poison heart, which is this mega poison afflicting units. But all in all, she still lost a bit of steam, and 82% of teams, of the top teams, are currently using her. Still, though, she's number 5 in Europe. Number 7, Mizuchi, and she is really mainly carried by Japan, but she has a lot going for her, obviously, with her counter skin in combination with that hold ground and the time drain plus mechanic. Really, really good. And on the other hand, she's also a great finisher with the survival slayer skill. A lot of people are using her in the last platoon of the arena, and she seems to be doing convincing work there, even though sometimes her AI bugs out and tries to time drain despite a guard being present. Number 6, Callen, and she's up 3 ranks compared to September. Quite a significant uptick here, and she's just really a great disruptor. There's not really a whole lot to say there. 88% of the top teams are using her, and yeah, that's pretty much all around the world. Kind of with that imposter mechanic taking away one team member. The Savage Force is nice, Spirit Generation when an enemy dies, and Hold Ground plus then as well the Sleep mechanic, a deserved number 6. And then we have number 5, Water Snow White. That is the same rank as in September. She's really close to getting SS tier already, but she didn't quite make the cut. Still SS tier, but even though she only had 1 banner yet, already 74% of 100 top teams are using her 114 days after her release. And she's especially prevalent in Japan, where she's also already number 5, where I don't even correct for her short time being around. So that is really promising stuff from Water Snow White, with the stealth attacks, with the counter skin, and of course with the Nightmare or Frozen Dreams mechanic. Deadly Sleep. A lot of good stuff about her. I also fully awakened her on her first banner, which I usually never do, but quite a convincing skill set, and she shows it in these rankings. Number 4, Dark Jeanne. still in SSS tier, but she's losing some ground, and it's probably obvious it is because of the stealth meta, which kind of denies her awesome revenge passive, which is kind of the resurrection in combination with Michaela. She's still number 1 in Americas though, for what it's worth. Number 3, Bright Ludmilla, and I'm not sure how much I still have to talk about her. She's hands down, still over 1 year after her release, the best SSR guard in the game. Kind of becoming invincible for a while is just really, really good for a guard. And then we also have her basically being reusable with her step back, kind of that divine healing, I think, divine guard basically. 10% for each hit. She has some drawbacks, of course, like removing burn or stealth from your units, but you can't have it all. Overall, hands down, still the best SSR guard, period. Number 2, it's Earth Mysha. 2 years, no, exactly 1 year after her first release. She is going strong and she's really, really closing in here on Storm Elmina, I have to say. Number 1 in all regions except the Americas. And yeah, just personally speaking, she's the unit that I have leveled up the most because of all her abilities, with that kind of stealthy vengeance, with the assassin strain, with the stealth attack that actually hits too, so it can hit beyond a guard, basically forcing Storm Elmina and Dark Jeanne out of the starting platoons of many of the top teams. So yeah, that's just a combination of so many good things in combination with her hold ground that yeah, I think is speaking for itself, even though number 1 is still Storm Elmina, and you already know who she is. 97% of the 100 top teams use her. Stealth, stun skin, stealth power, mostly getting ignored by everything that isn't stealth, and yeah, just a really, really nice skill set, putting it all together, and nice AI handling, to say the very least. Maybe one note here, Bright Ludmilla is the only unit that reached 100% usage in this edition. So every single top team that I looked at had Bright Ludmilla in it. That is not true for any other unit. Sun Wukong still needs to wait a bit longer to be tiered, but here is the final tier list for now. Data-based, the data has been collected from many different servers. That is mainly the Japanese servers, but also Korea, China, Great Britain, Germany, Spain, France, North America, South America. So a lot of different servers serve as a basis for this tier list, and this is the very top you're seeing here. Dark Jeanne, Bright Ludmilla, Earth Mysha, and Storm Elmina still topping the charts, so to speak. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot. Thanks for watching.